But let us continue onwards, shall we? Even a Hell Sentinel will not bring me down. Of course, one of my favorite Polybridge tunes. It's right at the perfect moment. Wish us luck. Saving all of our magic for the Hell Sentinel coming around the corner here. We definitely need statue form though, so we will have to do that. It's a good thing I didn't spend all of my magic points trying to kill that son of a gun. Otherwise we might have been left out on a bit of a lurch there. Not too bad. Extend our transformation, and onwards we go. All of the iron variants of all the various monsters in the game coming our way. Hell Sentinel once more. Yeah, that damnation will always hurt us a wee bit here, largely because of the fact that it ignores our evasion, something that has been saving us a decent amount of trouble. Even the Iron Giant's hook shots, I think we've managed to dodge each one that's come our way so far, which is just lucky, all things considered. Not that we've been in a truly terrible situation that it would have made a huge difference, at least not yet. Sure, this time will come, but not yet. I'm not super excited for Gehenna because I have some personal biases against the place, even regardless of how well the encounters go. That's where I lost a truly promising character. I think it was a Gargoyle Earth Elementalist that was able to sling level 9 spells left and right, and it was back in version 0.25. But I very much just stupidly kept trying to melee fight an ancient champion as they walked up to me, and took a couple of heavy roll iron shots right to the face. And that was that. Entire run thrown away for no good reason whatsoever, because it was definitely strong enough and had all the resources needed to just run away, get the heck out of there, and come back to fight another encounter. So that's what we're going to be struggling against and struggling to avoid over the course of the next little while here, is just not let my own idiocy get in the way of this character's success. Added blade hands to our inventory. Our spell inventory, at least. Probably not something we'll be casting, but it's nice to round off our spell list as much as possible. I always appreciate trying to get every spell in the game before we finish off a run, if just for the satisfaction of completing that. And Ancient Champions left and right. It's funny that it happened to me in Gehenna, but so far in this branch, we've ran into probably more Ancient Champions than I've seen outside of Crypt in the past. Guess that's the way it works. Never know what you're gonna face. And fiends of every flavor and variety here, even run into the Firestarter Mace. Fortunately, we are looking for sources of fire resistance, but doesn't quite cut it. Fortunately, opposable thumbs are one weakness. And tabbing too fast gets me into a little bit of trouble there. Gotta be a bit more careful that we don't accidentally lose statue form at a crucial time. But it's just about time to make our way into the final fortress and see how we fare against Disbitter here. In fact, let's cancel that, and we will next add new exclusions onto each of these doorway areas and see how we do with the rest of the fortress here. Hoping that we can take out most of these little buddies without too much trouble, and we definitely should, even though fire resistance is definitely not my forte. On top of that, hopefully we don't see too many more fire enemies. But only time will tell. At the end of the day, if we're truly desperate, we can, of course, just take off our ice ring. We're not dealing with too much in terms of willpower enemies down here, so we don't really need to have the full 5 picks. It's nice some of the time, but definitely not strictly necessary. Hello, my friend. Goodbye. And Quicksilver Dragons is definitely what we're hoping to not run into too many of, especially in the final chamber. That would be nice. Okie dokie. I guess here goes nothing. And we don't really want to be retreating from these enemies because they will just hurl that damnation at us over the course of our retreat. Not fantastic. And even before we pop in here, let's practice what we preach and take a quick moment to take a look at what exactly our good friend is capable of here. So the Iron City of Dis, and I'll go to the Disvader page on the Crawl wiki here and take a look. Summon Greater Demon, so of course summons still coming our way. Don't ever change GCSS. Please don't get in the way of my capacitive coupling. But on top of that, the ability to hurl damnation, Iron Shot, and Lahudib's Crystal Spear. So we're dealing with a lot of heavy damage options at the disposal of Disvader themselves. But at least the majority of them are completely avoidable. And so we can hopefully resort a little bit on our high evasion here to take the few turns necessary for capacitive coupling to hit hard. Definitely pop around the corner here because we need to deal with the little buddy first. And here they are. So you can see for yourself the numbers that I was just looking at on the wiki here. Definitely some brutal hits that have the potential of incoming. I guess Hurl Damnation does not fall into the category I was just mentioning, but you knew that. I can't shut up about it. I've been mentioning it over and over again over the past little while. But that should be okay. Now, Abjuration doesn't affect us because we're not going to be using summons to take this buddy on, and instead, just going to bring out our capacitive coupling, hope that nobody gets closer than Disvader. An Iron Shot hits us, which isn't great. There we go. Again, just stupidly easy. Way easier than it is any right to be. Not too bad. The Staff of Disvader, unfortunately, we'll never get to use it. In general, it's not a fantastic weapon by any stretch of the imagination, but it does have a lot of flavor. And for that, I often like to at least carry it around and try and find situations where it's appropriate to use. Much like we saw before, even though in general we're not worrying about picking up gold, specifically the gold that spawned in this area, I'm picking up for the principle of the matter and out of complete spite. Because if it's Disvader's gold, then I definitely want it in my pockets. And there we go. Another rune under our belt. Take a quick look. We are up to the 8 now. In fact, let's throw a quick edit into our counter here. 8 out of 15. Not too bad. Now, what do we wish to do? Most likely, I will actually just head straight into Gehenna. We've been lucky so far, and I still like the ability to prepare ourselves a little bit, make sure that we have the proper resistances in place, and of course the ability to retreat out of there. If things go poorly, we can leave. In the Pandemonium, we don't quite have as much liberty to leave the map itself if things don't go our way. So, as we've done in these previous sections, we will at the very least make our way out of here and explore our way down through the first 6 floors of Gehenna. Gehenna, maybe? Gehenna? I don't know. Anyone in chat, if you know the correct pronunciation for this hell in particular, definitely let me know. So as I've previously said, I like to pronounce things correctly. I don't often pronounce things the right way, but I would like to, at the very least. I also have forgotten to ensure that we had the proper resistances upon going into the area here, so I might beat a hasty retreat before we make it too far down. Might as well clear out most of these enemies before we do so, since they will be on our way when we return. Perfect. And let's do a quick recalibration over how we can increase our fire resistance. And first things first, we'll probably just be taking off this ring. I can't deal with the vulnerability on top of our kind of general lack of fire resistance, so that's good. And then we'll do a quick search here of RF+, see what we want to do. So we're carrying one already, and the rest of these rings don't look too fantastic. Wow, all rings of fire, the basic ones. We don't even have a single just solid resistance to fire ring, hey? Of the basic variety at the very least. That's wild. We might end up wanting this Ring of Incredulity. I kind of hate the corrosion effect. I guess where does that rate in my head against a strength bonus and intelligence -4? Intelligence -4, probably not the end of the world, right? Let's go for it. It'll probably save us a lot of trouble just having access to fire resistance. So let's meander our way up all the way back to Snake. Feels like a lifetime ago that we were going through this section. Oh wow, Vajnia. Kind of forgot we left you alive. I'm so sorry that it has to end this way. Perfect. Can I get that ring now? Perfect. Heading this way. Originally, I think we were planning on letting Vajnia live out their life in peace and harmony. Though, albeit with a decent number of their townspeople eliminated, but guess not. We're gonna be the true big bad and take out all the dungeon denizens, with the exception of the usual people that we preserve, because UF doesn't deserve death. Just chilling out, observing quarantine protocols, doing his thing in his house. And, of course, also, the name I'm blanking on, who's our cat friend? Anyway, our cat friend that I shouldn't blank on, seeing as how we end up facing them in almost every single game. I'm sure it will come to me late tonight, in the middle of nowhere, when it has absolutely no use in my brain anymore. Seems like that's a trend that generally follows pretty consistently for me, where I only ever remember things when it's not necessary for me to do so, and when it's most important for me to know without making myself look like a complete idiot, is when I'll inevitably completely forget and have no chance of recovery. But onwards we go. Give me stairs. Hey, thanks game. Somebody's looking out for us. Let's head on down. Of course, as mentioned earlier, really hoping that we will have a bit of an easier time finding all the stairwells. Because I don't believe we'll have too much trouble on our journeys here, and instead it becomes more about the tedium of the whole matter. Had some distortion weapons in here, but a trip to the abyss shouldn't be the end of the world, so we'll just do the classical fight them all at once. Manifold Assault definitely still pulling its weight, to say the least. Absolutely have loved having that spell in our repertoire. Ooh, and a shaft. Oh, but an enemy. Dang it. Dang it. Should have been paying attention. Sent a white down a staff instead of being able to take it ourselves. Curse you, game. Absolutely unnecessary for us to do so to that enemy in particular. We would have been fine dealing with them. So it's nothing but downsides. Would love to have taken that pathway ourselves, of course. But it is what it is. And so we'll just tab our way through the crowds of enemies. Torment being our only real threat here, and the main reason why we are even brought down to such a position. In fact, wait a second. I'd never put on that ring I bought. Shows how powerful the run is when you can be a complete idiot and still not get punished whatsoever for it. But there we go, now we have 2 pips of fire resistance. We're actually prepared for the area that we're fighting in. And onwards we go. just because we got completely shafted out of being able to take our desired pathway down. I was almost tempted to take the trapdoor, but I'm glad I held out for at least one more quick search around, because we did in fact find our stairwell here. So we can play it a bit safer. We don't have to risk it all for the sake of convenience. And we'll continue on. As with the previous branches, all of these standard floors of the dungeon should be totally fine for us to make it through, barring extreme circumstances. And instead, the true dangers, of course, come right at the end, when we have to deal with Asmodeus themselves. Wait, was there a shaft there, or did it just not notice us and walk the other way? I'm hoping I didn't miss out on another shaft, just because enemies are too stupid themselves to avoid said traps. Though, I shouldn't complain too much, because so often in the past we've used that exact mechanic to very much save our lives. So onwards we go. And, okay, this is more what I'm talking about, game. Stairs right as we enter an area. Absolutely love to see it. Just have to clear out all the riffraff, make sure all these gosh darn buddies are out of our way. Not even in statue form for half that fight. Didn't even matter in the slightest. Though again, let's not get too cocky. Definitely edging on overconfidence here. And we do not wish to pertain ourselves or cause issue with such a slow and insidious killer as that. So we just continue our way. Hello, friend. Excuse me, pardon me. Don't mind me, folks. Just making my way through. Honestly, it'd be better off for all of the critters down here if they just didn't bother running into us, because at the end of the day, I'm not interested in killing any of you. I just want to walk through. I have places to be. Asmodeus to kill. Okay, come this way. Saves me some trouble. I guess I should have seen this huge old structure as a bit of a telling sign that all of our stairwells are most likely grouped up together. Huh, yeah, that was a lot of notifications as we caught sight of all these monsters at once. But Manifold Assault should deal with them fairly well, and if not, we do have a beautiful corridor to retreat into here. Limits not just the number of enemies that we're facing at one time here, but on top of that, also the sight range of any enemies waiting for us in the room beyond. Even stupidly stepping forward without statue form is not enough to end us today. But this looks like an area that might have some treasure, so I am going to finish the exploration, even if it doesn't end up working out, and in fact this looks like just a reverse spiral of sorts? No. Dang it, it really is. Well, that's a shame, too bad. But that's fine. We'll instead walk this way, and I'm going to do a quick change out of rings to give ourselves fly. We'll walk our way over to this shaft here. And this shaft will ideally take us all the way down to Gehenna 7. The only danger there, of course, we're not going to be at a stair. So maybe this would be the one time when it's stupid to do so. But I'm going to do it. Oh, we only dropped one floor. So it definitely was stupid and we gained nothing from it. Now that I think about it for even a split second, I don't know if it's possible to be shafted down to the final floor of the area. It might be one of the special exception rules to shafts. But here we are. So we've made our bed. It's time to sleep in it. At least we're getting good gold distraction on all of our enemies here. It's not too bad. Mixing in the occasional Manifold Assault to try and take care of those Damnation Hurlers before things get too dire. In fact, a bunch of hounds are blocking the pathway to the lava pit. So we'll just take a few steps back here, and that way the Tormentor themselves is not a danger to us. Can instead deal with all of these closer buddies first. Maybe even take this as a nice opportunity to restore all of our expended mana. Perfect. Not quite all of it yet, but we're getting there, we're getting there. Not too shabby. In fact, I feel like I might just change my tune a wee bit. Didn't feel like I was accomplishing too much at my current trajectory there in terms of finding a stairwell, which is all we really care about. So I thought I might risk moving a different direction, but of course the dispersal traps were having none of that. They just sent us right back to where we were left before. So I guess you don't leave me much choice, and I'll just have to kill you all. Again, we were going to be a merciful cat here, but game was having none of it, so I guess this is our lives now. Hello, friends. Wow, there are all of our upstairs grouped together in one spot, so that's at least good to know. If things could still go completely south here, it's always nice to have a bit of a plan B and how to get out of here. And onwards we go, looking for any significant structures that look like they might hold the keys to the kingdom. Indeed, there we are. It's time to head down into the final hell here. So I'm gonna do my usual thing, take a quick look at Asmodeus. Definitely has the ability to hurl damnation and summons fire enemies. I believe he can summon Hellions as well as like the fiends, the fire fiends. On top of that, I can see now looking at the wiki real quick that he has a bolt of fire for 3d26, so that's at least most likely dodgeable. And thanks to passive coupling, we're going to be able to get around the worst of the issues that one may normally face with Asmodeus. That is to say, the sheer amount of health and AC. I think Asmodeus is one of, if not the top health enemy. Maybe I think Cerebov might have more. I shouldn't even pretend that I know these facts because I'm kind of reaching out of my own butt to say these, but it definitely sounds right in my head, and people can correct me if I'm wrong about that for sure. But yeah, normally you're dealing with extremely high AC and a lot of health, so you're constantly extended or dealing with truly extended encounters and fights. Plus the summons that are coming your way can be a real pain in the rear. Fortunately, we of course are going to bypass that completely by absolutely blasting the heck out of this son of a gun with capacitive coupling, but we'll have to see how that goes. Gonna have to find a good location to try and fight Asmodeus here, try and avoid the chances of misfires, make sure we're getting that all-important one-shot disintegration. There we go. Entrance party mostly dealt with. Aside from the summons that come in, I believe this looks like it's going to be Hellion Island, or at least something similar to it. So I believe across this lake of lava, we're going to be dealing with a whole slew of Hellions. Fortunately, not something that we should have too much issue with, seeing as how we do have the ability to hit across the entire screen, which of course is absolutely lovely, and they don't have too much health pool, so we shouldn't have too much trouble taking those buddies on. And there we go, we see the first couple of them. I believe that most of Asmodeus's honor guard is made up of brimstone fiends. I called them fire fiends earlier, but brimstone fiends I've now remembered is the correct nomenclature for said enemies. And I do believe that, yeah, has a bit of an honor guard of said fiends, but we should be able to handle that without too much trouble. In fact, we forgot to magic map here, but we know that our main buddy old pal is most likely in the center of their fortress. Let me think about that for a second though, because now that I'm looking at the layout, I think that it's actually somewhere back here that we find Asmodeus. So, looking for ideal opportunities to take them out. I mean, a one-wide corridor would be awesome, but that's definitely too much to ask for in this area. It's kind of built to prevent such strategies from occurring. Not to say it's impossible, though, especially since we might be able to dig through, and indeed we can. So using a wand of digging, we might want to just blast a bit of a path through and fight one-on-one. The only danger there, of course, is that coming into melee range with Asmodeus is exceptionally dangerous, especially for a spellcaster. So, we'll see when the time comes how we want to deal with that, but for now, we'll do our usual clear out routine, making this safe space as much as possible, or the space safe, really, as much as possible. So, onwards we go. I almost wish that we did equip our flying ring, sacrifice a pip of RF just for convenience so that we can make our way across the pits of lava here. Because otherwise, we can pretty much tab fight our way through all the enemies and are just having to deal with auto-moving, or manually moving rather, when they're across unpassable surfaces for us. But all is well as we finish up the last little bit of open space around the keep. Ooh, and see, there we go. That's why we don't walk towards Hellions. So, luckily, I didn't have to face horrible consequences from actions there, but there is a reason, of course, why we should constantly use some variety of ranged damage, especially something like Manifold Assault, or even Ozokugu's Refrigeration, just to immediately take out those Hellions. I also was very much not remembering correctly when I said that we could dig through and have some fancy schmancy plan, because of course they are the stone walls, and so we do have to do this the old-fashioned way. But hey, we wouldn't have it any other way, right? Gotta keep things interesting. Would have been too easy if we could have just made ourselves a corridor and dealt with our buddy without too much trouble. Let's remove our exclusion here and start exploring the castle proper. In general, the plan that I like to employ with any character for fighting Asmodeus is to pick out the smallest of these rooms. So somewhere like here kind of works as long as we're able to close doors in an appropriate fashion, because this will allow us to prevent summons as much as humanly possible, as well as make sure that we have constant control over the situation, especially if we fill that room with summons of our own. We then prevent any from coming in from Asmodeus, and so we could also try and abuse sightlines by standing in the best possible spot. Unfortunately, in this setup that we got, the Star Fortress, I don't believe it's quite as possible as some of the other locations I've found, where you can kind of pop yourself around a corner in an enclosed space, fill it with your summons, you're good to go. And, ooh, the Serpent of Hell. Oh, it's been a long while since I ran into you, friend. So this is a really cool unique that I believe actually came up in chat a while back, and I had totally blanked that it even existed because I so rarely run into the Serpent. But the cool thing about the Serpent is they can actually show up or appear in any of the different branches of Hell, and in each of the different branches they take on a different form to match with said branch. So definitely a really cool enemy that we probably, if things go well, won't have to even experience too much of what they can do. But, oh, no guarantee. We had a 50-50 between the Summoned Dragon and the Serpent of Hell for capacitive coupling. Of course, never didn't have it. We made that coin flip, no problems whatsoever. So, as mentioned, yeah, we won't get to see much of what that buddy's capable of. But very cool, especially with the new tile art for them. That was really neat. Okay. Looks like we were actually more correct in my first guess of where Asmodeus was. Turns out my brain actually thinking about it was a lot more stupid than just my instincts, so we should have kept with that. But it does look like Asmodeus will be in the center of the keep here. I think we are going to cut a few corners here, though that may be stupid and risky in some ways in its own regard, and we will end up exploring the whole area if just to make or get access to all of the treasure that we can possibly find. But we'll also head straight for the final chamber here. And of course, statue form is a large reason why these damnation flingers are so bad for us, because as we walk towards them like that, we're taking between 1 and 2 turns of damnation damage, which is absolutely brutal. Yeah, okay, I thought that might be you, seeing the flame around. Well, there's no real retreating when we're already in statue form, so I think we'll just do the regular old strat here. Cross our fingers that no summons get in our way, and if they do, that we at least have that 50-50 coin flip. Let's go for it. 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn. Not fair. I don't think I'll ever get over just how ridiculous that is. I'm looking back on my previous fights against all of these enemies and how arduous it was, and it was a constant battle, and you know, you'd fight for a bit, teleport scroll, get the heck out of there, heal up, come back in for another try, maybe using more potions, more consumables than you did before, doing everything at your disposal. But not so for absolute zero or capacitive coupling spellcaster. It just ain't no thing. But there we are. We're through the final hell here and sitting pretty for it, up to 9 runes. Even with the continued success of this character, I'm still constantly surprised at our progress here and that we're managing to continue on, because I keep expecting us to run into a bit of a wall and for me to eat my words completely and totally. Some may say it's shockingly easy indeed, Eggly. Absolutely love it. But okie dokie. One thing I should have done a bit earlier, because we've just been gaining experience in the back end without really paying attention, but check on Necromutation, and it looks like it's completely castable. So we do have our tomb tool, I guess, in effect here. In order to cast that, we will have to forget some things, but that's not a huge deal. We'll most likely forget Sticky Flame and maybe Passage to Galubria. This could be a lifesaver at some point in the future, but as is, we've been doing okay without it, and I don't really want to get rid of Stone Arrow. Sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a non-elemental way of dealing with things, especially a bit more of a mana efficient spell that we can cast. 3 mana at this point, not a big deal. Say Tomb Tool 5 times fast. Tomb Tool, Tomb Tool, Tomb Tool, Tomb Tool, Tomb Tool. Yeah, okay. I thought it was easy the first 3 in, and then on number 4 there, it just really hit me. Was that fast enough? Definitely didn't do my vocal exercises. Needed to do a little bit more unique New York, Irish wristwatch, wristwatch. Yeah, no, not prepared at all. Tongue is a twisted, to say the least. But okie dokie. Now comes the next big question. I mean, we're probably going for Pan. I don't love our setup. I mean, we did see that with mostly tools that are just available in our inventory here, we did manage to make our way through the hells without too much trouble. And so ideally, we'll see similar results in Pan. On top of that, we do have a lot of mutation potions, so if we get hit by anything horrible, we should be okay. It's tempting even to drink one now and try and get rid of shouting uncontrollably, because drawing attention when we really don't want to bit of a deal breaker sometimes, but who knows what else we might get in the negative mutation department. So let's leave that off for now. I will actually take a quick moment here, check my phone. Okie dokie. I think we're just gonna go for it. It's gonna be scary even with capacitive coupling, but we should be good for the most part. The biggest issue, besides the main panlords themselves, of course, is going to be the sheer variety that we find in that section of the game, because each and every floor you go to that isn't one of the bespoke 5, I guess 4, and then the 5th one is a bit of a hit or miss because there are multiple layouts that can hold the demonic rune, I believe it's called. But besides the bespoke 4, we're going to be dealing with a unique panlord on each floor. And so sometimes, no problem whatsoever, complete scrubs, much like we see in the orb runs. Some we don't worry about, and others we immediately have to initiate panic protocol and try our very best to get through in one piece. But without further ado, let's at least start that off tonight. And we might have to spend one more session someday in the future here finishing up, depending on how quickly we can get through this area. Okie dokie. Right, there's no good go command. Instead, we have to find pandemonium. Oh wow, only one gate. Interesting. Normally I expect to see a few of those lying around depths, but take a nice deep breath, take a drink, and let's get ready to head down. Indeed, if we enter this portal, we may not be able to return immediately. I signed the waiver. I do, in fact. Knows the risks. Ah. Oh, right, no. I always forget when I see the message, this branch contains these runes. For a moment, I'm like, oh, we're on the right floor already? But no. That's not what that's saying at all. It's this branch in general, silly old me. We will actually quickly pop into here, and we'll turn back on our gold pickup. Luckily, we don't have to deal with any curse nonsense or hell effects, as it were, and so I'm more than happy to spend the extra turns just picking up each and every gold piece that we find. And in fact, once you get to a certain strength level in the game and you're comfortable dealing with Pan and you're not too worried about having to leave behind the rune floors themselves, Pan becomes a much better place, in my opinion, for dealing with, or for not dealing with rather, but for hunting down extra resources. You're really looking to fill out your build with, more blink scrolls, more mutation potions even though that can be a bit of a hit and miss thing since you can also be mutated so much in the area here. But it's a much safer place than the Abyss to search, if just because it's more consistent. It might be a bit trickier in terms of some of the monsters you find, but the ability to know what's around you, to not have random monsters summoned in or walls closed off right when you need them open, it's definitely worth it to explore this area for special goodies. Fortunately, it's been a while since I was here, so I'm sure I'll be forgetting a lot of the different enemies that we encounter, because much like the draconian packs that we find in Zot, all of these demon spawn packs have unique types that show up, and each of them have their own special set of skills that are oftentimes a real pain to deal with. But we should be okay as we make our way through. And in fact, we do actually completely have the option here to just get the heck on out of here. We could just head down to the next floor Pan. I believe that we saw a gate already here. Take a quick peek over here. So we could just head to another region. There's no real reason for us to stick around, unless of course we want those consumables that we were talking about earlier, which, I mean, we kind of do. Don't get me wrong. We did pick up a scroll there, and I wasn't paying attention quickly enough to realize what the heck it was. No numbers are appreciably different, at least that I can recall. So we'll just keep moving here. And what are we dealing with? Ability to call down damnation. That's a bit of a pain. But you're not resistant to damnation. That seems like an oversight on your part. You shouldn't throw what you can't take. Glass houses and all. But otherwise, not too much here. Usually looking for chaos damage off of the melee hit here, because that can have all sorts of cascading effects, like paralysis that's not at all affected by willpower, or the ability to cast silence is also going to be a big no-go for us. Can take a quick look at the Infernal Blood Saint. What do you do? Legendary Destruction. Should be okay with those. And Call of Chaos. That affects allies. Cool. I can deal with that. Start off. Oof. Ouch. With some good ol' blasting with Manifold Assault. And then I do want a capacitive coupling here, but I need you to step towards me, and unfortunately you're distracted. Should still be good. Wait a second. Really? Why are you not affected? Am I missing something here? I feel like brain not working. Well, maybe I hit the wrong key. Do it. We're gonna break it anyway immediately because the Tormentor is not who we were hoping to hit. I'm even gonna use Potion Petition here. I was kind of hoping for a heal, but whatever. We'll do what we must, and maybe we'll just take you out the old-fashioned way, hey? Could summon demons. We hit pretty hard. Yeah. That was probably better than even trying for the capacitive coupling, though we may want to use the classic routine against some of the future Panlords that we come across. And we could explore the branch, but we're actually looking pretty good in terms of our consumables right now, so I think instead of that, we'll just take the next path and aha, we run into our first guarded branch. So we're in the realm of Noleg, maybe? And the glowing rune of Zot. So I believe that this is the heavy mutation themed floor. Frailty is our first mutation that we gained from that Kako demon. That's not the end of the world, at least. Not too unhappy with that. We're dealing with a lot of mutators, just generally exploring the floors here to say the very least. But again, we have lots of potions of mutation, so if things start hitting, we'll be okay. Actually, I thought frail. Again, I take a week and a half off from the game and my brain immediately forgets everything, apparently. Thought that was a strength-based one, silly old me. Frailty is a big deal, and I do hate that, because we already are dealing with health issues constantly here, so we will instead drink a potion of mutation. We gain robustness, so that frailty is gone, or fragility as well. And, excuse me, sorry about that, I try and mute for those. But we are also somewhat resistant to further mutations, so I think that that's something like a 33% chance to completely ignore the next mutation effect that hits us, so that is awesome. And otherwise, I think we're pretty much ready to take on Noleg. I did have this tab up as well in my internet window here, just to make sure that we, again, took extra precautions. Always check the wiki if you're ever in doubt, if you ever want to have as much info as possible, which is generally the best thing you can do in this game. Highly recommend looking up each and every one of these characters just to make sure that you're in the right state of mind. In general, we should be okay. The summoning eyeballs and summoning horrible things are two of the things that Nilog can do, and that obviously sucks if we're trying to one-shot them with capacitive coupling, but we should go just fine, even just fighting the regular way. So, should be able to take them on. Let's just get going, shall we? Try not to pick up too many mutations before we get out of here. And we saw there that we got the message, you feel odd for a moment. That means that we did resist a malmutate from that buddy who was trying to catch us off guard there. Hope to see that message as much as possible. Feel odd for a moment. Perfect. Never a doubt in my mind, of course.